Hello everyone, this is update for January 19, 2024, day 695 of the war, end of the date update. Also catch up for January 17 and 18. There's not that many strategic news or really important updates, but there is one that I would like to mention is it's about S7 Russian airline. They are laying off 70 lead pilots and 90 backup pilots. I may not be using the terms properly, but hopefully everybody understands. There are two pilots in every passenger, or typically in every passenger aircraft. One is sort of like actual pilot, the other one is sort of backup in case something happens with the lead pilot. So this is going back to the video that I made that around end of November, early December, where I was discussing that Russian passenger aircraft industry is going into tailspin and quickly disappearing. Let's put it this way, due to the problem with maintaining um, Western-made aircraft, specifically Airbus. In this case, they have mostly Airbus aircraft, and obviously Boeing the same issue. So they basically grounding some of the airplane. They cutting off some of the lines connections between the cities in Russia, and then obviously they are laying off pilots. I would say pilots is the most important sort of crown jewel in any airline. So this really kind of tells about the sort of desperation and difficult situation, and it's obviously reflective of the overall situation in Russian passenger aircraft industry, which, as I said, is unraveling due to reliance on Airbus and Boeing airplanes, and there is lack of maintenance. This is actually probably one of the few cases where the sanctions are actually working. With this phase, probably towards the end of the 24, significant portion of the Russian passenger aircraft fleet will be grounded. Obviously, this is not going to derail Russia in their war against Ukraine. It will continue, and obviously, it's not gonna make it sort of it's not gonna make any sort of meaningful difference on the battlefield. If anything, actually, this pilots potentially could be reused as the military pilots. They obviously will need some additional training, but obviously that training is relatively little that's needed. Now I'm going to switch to the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine. As a overall, my observation is there are sort of cracks in Ukrainian defenses. I think they becoming more visible. Where I wouldn't say Ukrainian defenses will collapse soon, but there will be meaningful losses, territorial losses that will, would say, make it more alarming and concerning, and sort of will potentially accelerate all the problematic situation internally in Ukraine and obviously outside of Ukraine. But let me start in a clockwise fashion, as I always do, starting with the situation along the state border. So remains the same. No essential changes here. Fairly quiet. Now let's jump to the situation on the North Lugansk front line. So there is a first place where it looks like Ukrainian forces are losing ground. This is Russian attacks along this road towards Kupyansk. So there is some territorial losses by Ukrainian forces. They're not huge, but nevertheless, it's more about the trend rather than the amount of territory that's being lost. In addition, Russian forces putting fairly meaningful pressure in this kind of like corner between these two rivers, with obviously apparent goal is to eliminate this sort of kind of bridgehead that Ukrainian forces have there. But so far, Ukrainian forces were able to hold the line there. Now let's move to the North Donbass front line. Activity here is fairly limited, with exception of Ukrainian forces losing village Vesele here. It doesn't seem there was intense fighting over it, so it could be just call it improving defensive position type of retreat. Obviously it's not a positive sign by any means. It's obviously it's a negative sign for Ukraine again. So this is what I was stating, that there are sort of cracks. The cracks are appearing in Ukrainian defenses. Now let's move to the sort of southern sector of this North Donbass front line. There were some Russian attacks here, but they fairly weak actually, surprisingly, in this area. Now let's move to the central Donbass front line. Here situation around Avdiyivka is getting worse. Actually, it's just the scale is too big, but Russian troops actually managed to make a dent from the let's call it southeastern direction here in Ukrainian defenses in this area where I'm showing. So they actually made a breach in Ukrainian defenses and actually advanced quite a bit. And the important part of that is that Ukrainian media is informing that the breach was actually not a breach. It was simply a hole in Ukrainian defenses where there was simply not enough manpower to actually maintain the perimeter of defenses, and that's how Russian troops actually managed to capture this territory. So again, this and basically there are alarming news from there that the days of Avdiyivka might be numbered, just simply because there are no reinforcement, and again, there is not enough manpower to hold the perimeter there. So again, this is what I was saying, that there are sort of cracks appearing in Ukrainian defenses at various places. Let's put it this way. Then there were Russian attacks in the Marinka area, or former Marinka area, more like Novomikhailivka, without sort of negative consequences for Ukrainian forces so far. Now let's move to the Zaporizhya front line. Fairly quiet, very weak Russian attacks here around in this Robotin area without any losses on the Ukrainian side in terms of territory. Now let's go to the situation along the Dnipro River. Here there are intense Russian attacks to destroy the bridgehead in Krynky. Actually, a day ago, Russian troops managed to breach deeply into Ukrainian defenses in Krynky, but then they were kicked out by Ukrainian forces, so they managed to kind of close the breach and force Russian troops out. But it kind of tells quite a bit about the intensity of the fight, and it looks like Russian command decided to finally eliminate this bridgehead at any cost. So again, as a summary, there are concerning developments on the front line for Ukraine. It seems that the defensive capabilities are diminishing, and it's I would say it's probably more a combination of the quality of people, most importantly, as I mentioned before, because new replacement is no match to the sort of initial the volunteers, people who were extremely motivated. Those people, many of them have died or wounded and so on, and so the quality of the troops is definitely declining, and without increasing quality of the equipment that would compensate for decreasing quality of troops, of the morale, and just general motivation, the sort of to the ability to hold the line for Ukrainian forces is going down, and obviously Russian troops are, Russia continues its attacks. If they have resources, I don't think they have resources for large offensive, but what they do is sort of good enough for them. With the strategies, they know eventually they're gonna win. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.